So we are live. Okay. So hi everyone. Welcome to this fifth meetup. No, rather fourth meetup from Miro Academy. My name is Saurabh Dhingra and I'll be the speaker for today. I just request everyone to please go on mute. There are a lot of background noise. Whenever you have any questions, please unmute yourself and I'll answer the questions. Okay, and the topic for today is build test automation framework from scratch using Selenium. We are going to create meetups from scratch. We'll use Selenium as a test automation framework. This is my fifth meetup. Before this, I've done four more meetups, and out of those, three of their recordings are available on YouTube. One more will be coming um, after the session today, right? So let me first introduce myself. My name is Saurabh Dingra, and I've been a trainer from last 7 years, and I'm into IT from last 11 years. Uh, I have done work in various roles. Like I started my career as a manual QA, then moved into automation, did automation with a lot of tools, and then I moved into DevOps again into the automation part of the DevOps, especially the infrastructure as code, all the automation, CI/CD automation, and so on. So automation has been my career last 11 years. Last year, I've started this organization, Miro Software Services, and in that, one of the part is Miro Academy, which I've started in this year on January 1st. Uh, and the main purpose of Miro Academy is to impart knowledge in all the areas related to Agile, QA, DevOps, and cloud. So these are four areas which we are focusing on. So as and when the development ends, we like our work start, right? Okay, so let's quickly have an introduction from all the audience we have on Google Meet. So we have eight people. Let's just quickly go through, let's have a quick introduction, because one of the reason of having these meetup is to network as well from with other people, right? Then we can collaborate together more later, right? So I'll just go in a order which I see on this. So the first is Ali RJ. Can you quickly introduce yourself? Ali, can you hear us? You're on mute, Ali, if you're speaking something. Okay, maybe we can connect with him later. Next, Jihana, can you quickly introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I introduce myself. My name is Jan. I'm software engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I have 7 years of experience. I started as a developer PHP MySQL. Then this 6 years I worked as a business analyst and software QA engineer for a large account in Morocco. It's a job that allows us to validate software before putting it online on client environments.
Mm-hmm.
After more than 2 years in this position, I took advantage of reorganization to take the position of manager of integration and validation team.
Mm-hmm.
So the objective of validation is to validate the quality of the products and the systems.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank
I
you.
write functional specification. I write reports. I do meeting with technical members, and I'm a fast learner. I draft I do meeting with technical members, and that's all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your introduction. Moving on to next, Karuna Karan.
Welcome.
Hi all, my name is Karnakaran. I moved to Netherlands 4 years back. I was actually born and brought up in India. So I have like 15 years of experience in testing, but mostly manual. My ex-employer didn't demand anything related to automation. But now after I quit, I learned that without automation, I cannot grab next job. So that's why I was looking for all automation related shows and conferences. That's why I came to know about this meetup. Hopefully, I'll learn and get myself ready for the next challenge. So that's it about me.
Sure, Karunakaran. Thank you for attending this. I hope I'll make your time count.
Thank
Next
you.
I have is Medrita.
Hello, everybody. I am a software engineer. I am full stack engineer working in Paris. And my boss told me to do some TNR and some testing with the Cucumber and Selenium. So I am on this meeting to learn. And yes, uh, thank you. That's
Thank
all
you.
for me.
Thank you, Medrita. Next we have Sayan Saha.
Hi all, my name is Shayan Shah and I'm from Kolkata, India. So I'm working as an automation engineer with Tata Consultancy Services for the past 10 months. So I'm almost a fresher in the IT world. I'm looking forward to grow in this field and like, learn a lot of things over here.
Thank you, Sayan. Thank you. Next we have is Sohei.
Hello, I'm Shohei. Nice meeting you. I have spent the last 12 years mainly in financial software development field as either QA or BA. I used to automate my skills before, but my employer provided like automation tool that was in-house built, so I never had a chance to learn tools like Selenium that I can automate with open source language. So that's why I decided to join today. Thanks.
Thank you, Sohei. So next we have Suresh. Suresh, can you quickly introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone. This is Suresh, and I have more than 10 years of experience in iOS development and as well as Android. And yeah, so I use automation tests using default Apple provided frameworks. I want to learn some other frameworks like Selenium, so which is used for APIs as well as for web UI as well.
Okay.
Want to learn on this one, so.
Okay. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, and welcome to the meetup. Next and the last person we have is Lana. Lana, can you hear us? Can you quickly introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Nana. I'm calling in from the UK.
Yeah. Okay. So your background, quickly.
Oh, sorry. I've just literally joined, so I don't actually know what your questions are, other than introduce yourself, which is
Yeah. So
name.
just your quick background, like how you're why you joined this meetup, like what motivates you to join the meetup.
Yeah, so my background is in design. I'm currently doing some web applications, and I want to just sort of brush up on my automation. So that was the reason for sort of joining this group.
Sure. Thank you. So I'll quickly share a link in chat. Okay, this is the Moodle link. I just want you to join this as a visitor. No need to create any account on it. It's open. 1 second. Yeah. So quickly in 1 minute, take 2 minutes and just add one point. What do you understand with automation frameworks? Okay, I can call it, let's say, test automation framework. Whatever you know about test automation framework, and how can you add anything in it? Just double click. You'll get this sticky note here, and just type. Say, for example, I say test automation is way uh, maintaining code in a structured and reusable fashion. Okay, so just one line. Um, what do you want, or whatever you want to add, whatever you understand with this word called test automation framework.
Hi, Shorab, it's asking me to create an account. I
No,
couldn't
no,
go with the test.
join it as a visitor. Isn't it giving you an option to join as a visitor?
No, it's asking me to sign in and it's asking for the work email.
No. You okay? When you let me show you. See, um, copy because others has joined, and I'm pretty sure nobody would have
Oh,
created the account. I can see people joining here. So when you click here, uh, okay. Mm, 1 second. Say it should not ask. I have given no
I'm just
this.
wondering how could others do, but only it's.
Okay, let me check quickly. Um, okay, I think I've given the wrong link. It was visitors link. Sorry. Here it is. Anyways, I'll not be communicating to anyone who has joined here. So the second link you can use, and that should only. I mean, you can join that using as a. So just 2 minutes, and whatever you understand with this term called test automation, you can add that.
Hey, sure. I'm sorry. Could you please show me again how to add a new sticky notes?
Just double click here. That's it.
Oh, anywhere.
Yeah, just double click anywhere. You'll be able to
Okay.
it.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Thanks. Sorry, I was just busy checking that link. That's why I missed your.
No worries, no worries, no worries. Okay, by the way, you can zoom in and zoom it like this. So when you just um, use your fingers, two fingers on the mouse pad, you'll be able to expand and like this. Okay. Mhm. So it's not that you only have to add one single sticky note. You can add as many you want. Okay. So whatever you know about test automation framework, add that. Okay, one more minute and then we'll start. Okay, so I think we can start now. I see a lot of people have added some points. Let's quickly read. So the first point I only added, which is maintaining code in a structure and reusable fashion, right? So see, when you're just starting with test automation, I believe many of you are freshers in test automation. So when you start learning automation, what you'll do, you'll just start directly start with the just writing the scripts to automate and maybe write a script to open the browser, navigate to something, and then do whatever you want, and then close the browser, right? uh, and you'll not focus on mainly reusing the components, reusing the libraries or whatever code you're writing. There will be a lot of duplicacy, right? So when we say we are building frameworks, what does it means is that we are writing a code in a fashion that it is more structured, it's more reusable, right? We write as less as possible to achieve as maximum as we can, right? Another point is mentioned is allowed to do TNR much easier. What is TNR? Sorry, if you can just elaborate this one.
It's this no regression.
Okay, test no regression. Okay, yeah. So one of the reasons we do test automation is to automate the regression suite, right? That's the, you can say, the top priority whenever we start with automation. Why? Because regression suite is the one which takes a lot of time and are mainly stable, and we target to automate them first, right? Then we have is, it's a method to maintain test scripts. I've heard the term, but it's not very sure. So yeah, you're right. It's ways. It is one of the way to maintain your test scripts in a better approach, right? Now, a platform which helps us quickly validate our test procedure or test scripts. Again, similar point what we have just discussed, right? So thank you everyone for adding these points. Now, uh, I'll quickly just discuss what is test automation framework. Just one second, I'll open the PowerPoint again. Okay, one second. Yeah. Okay, so the framework which we are going to see today is something like similar to this. Okay, and while explaining you this, I'll walk you through the features of what a framework should have, what all features a framework should cover. Okay, so when we start writing a code in normal way, we will just start writing everything in one single file, right? That's, say for example, I have here created one test script just for the people who like one second, two screens with, this is always difficult to manage. One second. Yeah. Okay, so if you see here, I have created this test where I'm adding some articles. I'll show you what test application I'm using. The very first step I'm doing is navigating to a browser, which is Chrome driver. Like I'm opening the Chrome browser. Then I've set some timeouts. Then I'm navigating to a particular URL. Then I'm doing a sign in, and then I'm adding articles, right? And then I'm closing the browser. So this is one of my test case where I'm using Selenium to uh, automate a flow. Okay. For this, the test application I'm using is, let's say this. I go to localhost colon 3000. This is my test application. It's a very simple application. Let me first log out and then explain you what this application do. Okay, so it's a sample application which is very similar to any article hosting website with, say, for example, Medium. So what capability it has is you have sign up feature, you have sign in feature. When you once you sign in, say for example, I sign in with one user here, then I have some articles which can be shown on my feed. There are some articles which are available on the global feed, and then you can add a new article, say test, you add other details, and you can publish an article, right? So this is the feature we are going to test, right? So for that, I've written this script where I'm navigating to a URL, then we are setting some page load timeouts, navigating to a URL, then we are signing in, and then we are adding article, and then we are closing an article, right? So the locator techniques and everything, I just consider that you already know about it. But if in case you don't know, then we can maybe later we can discuss more about it also. So now the framework which we are going to build will be something similar. Okay, where the very first thing I'll do is I'll structure my code in a reusable format. Okay, and we'll keep everything loosely coupled. What does it means? We'll see in a minute. Okay, then we'll have some capabilities where you can read the data from some Excel sheet. We have the capabilities where we can read from some config file. We can have some capabilities to generate reports, generate logs, and generate screenshots, and we can integrate this whole framework with some CI/CD tool like Jenkins. Okay, the very first thing, whenever you're building any framework, keep all your code loosely coupled. Okay, now a framework usually uses a lot more tools. To say, one tool I require to generate a report, one tool I require to generate a logs, one tool I require to generate screenshots and save them in a proper way. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to do is I'll divide my code into three layers. The very first layer is my test layer, where all my test cases will reside. Okay. Then I have the second layer where all my application code resides. Then third layer I have is where I'll have all my automation code resides. Okay. We are going to use something called wrapper methods to keep all our method all the say for example, if you're using Selenium as a test automation library, we will not use their methods directly. Rather, we'll keep them in some common library as wrapper methods so that we can reuse them. Okay, and we're calling this whole framework as a modular framework because it is divided into a lot of uh, modules. Okay, now to learn this framework, there are two ways. I start building from scratch everything, right? Second, what I'll do is I already have these scripts with me. I'll use the scripts to build this or to structure the whole code in this format, right? So first, the very first thing, what we'll basically do is we'll start refactoring the code step by step, and we'll end up somewhere here. Okay, so the very first thing you see is that everything is written in one single test. For testing purpose, I'm using something called TestNG, right? So the tool is TestNG. TestNG is a testing framework. What all libraries are being used, that is defined in a pom.xml. Okay, before that, before I go into pom.xml, first of all, I'm using Eclipse as my integrated development environment. Then I have this project created with, this is a Maven project with a simple archetype type. What does it means? That I'm not using any external template. I'm using a plain, very simple format of a Maven project. In that, you see there is one folder src main java, which will usually have all our application and automation related code. Okay, so you can say that from this whole framework, except this thing which is our test layer, everything else will be in src main java. Okay, any external files like config file or these Excel sheet, or if you need anything from any other maybe CSV file, all those resources will go in src main resources. Then to generate reports, logs, and screenshots, I'll create three different folders in it. So let's say the first folder I create will be for, say, screenshots. Okay, second folder which I need, I'll create, say, for reports. Okay, so report, screenshots, and third folder I'll create will be for logs. Okay, logs, what we'll do is will keep inside the reports only. I'll show you how. Okay, you can use a separate utility to generate logs as well, but I'm going to show you one single utility which can also add your logs into your report itself. So you have one place to see everything. Okay. Then one folder inside SRC main resources you can keep. Say I call it again folder, and I'll call it config so that I can keep my configurations here. Okay. And in this you can create a file. Let's say I call it config dot properties. Okay. In this I'm going to keep all my properties. Okay, so let's come back to this articles test.java, right? So see, whenever you test any test case, the very first step will always be to open the browser, right? Then second step will be to do all the prerequisites. Say for example, sign in is one prerequisite. So that is something which I'm always going to do, right? So we'll so this is first part. Then you have your test case. So this is the next part. And then at the end, you're going to close the browser. Every test of yours will have this hierarchy. First opening the browser, then say sign in, then your test case, then sign out, and then closing the browser. Okay, test 1, test 2, test 3, whatever test you add, all of them will have a very similar structure, right? So why to add everything in one single test? What we can do is there are some hooks which are provided by TestNG. Every testing framework has these hooks, whether it's NUnit for C#, whether it's PY, that is Python for, PY test for Python, whether you're using JUnit for Java or you're using TestNG for Java, all of them has these hooks. Just the way you call them is different. So let's say here, the very first hook I add is before class. In this, what I'll do is I'll say call pre-setup. That means before something I do as setup, I want to run this. And one I'll add is before method. And this I'll call as public void setup. Okay. And then I'll add two more. One will be at after method, which is public void say cleanup. Okay, and then I'll add at after class, and then I'll add public void post cleanup. Right? So I've added these hooks. So these hooks are something like they will execute at certain events. Okay, like this hook will execute as the first method whenever this class loads. This executes before every test case. This executes after every test case. And this executes after all the test cases are done. Okay, so we can start moving our code one by one. I want to navigate to a particular URL in all my tests, right? But only once. So I'll do a pre-setup. I'll move my code of navigating to a particular URL in pre-setup. Then my sign-in part will go in setup before every test case. Then say close browser will go in post cleanup. Okay, you can add sign out in cleanup, but for now I'll just let's say okay, I'm just mentioning that we are going to do the sign out. I've not written the code, so we'll skip that part, right? So this is much better because we have a reusable code now. We are not going to write the same code again and again in every test case. That's the first part. Okay, we have moved some part of the code which is reusable, like navigating to a URL and then signing in, sign out, and closing the browser in certain hooks. Right now, these hooks Okay, let's do one thing. Let's first test it. Let's see if everything is running fine or not. So to run the test, I'll just click on this run. So this will open up the browser. Yeah, you can see it has opened up the browser. Then we are navigating to URL. Then it should click on sign in. So you can see then it is signing in. Now it is adding an article added, and then close the browser. Okay, I've not added any assertion for now, but you can add assertions also. Later we'll add in few, I mean, when we'll progress, we'll add, because without any assertion, your test case is a bogus test case, because it will never fail, right? So this was our first test. Any questions so far?
Hi, Sharab.
Yeah,
So
Karan.
the flow is super clear for me because I learned on myself about the unit testing because in Netherlands, most of the jobs for even for testers, they're asking to learn unit testing.
Mhm.
That's a surprise for me. Actually, developers has to do. For that,
Mhm.
I learned about unit testing. So this setup cleanup was so clear for me.
Mhm.
Again, I feel like all the code is in the same file, right?
Yeah,
Or
I'll come to that. We'll move.
So, so this is the second draft. So first everything in the one file. Now we are segregating
Yeah.
into the
So basically,
Okay, got
I'm
it.
just showing you when you're just starting up. Like the idea was when you're
Yeah.
just starting up and you just know how to code through Selenium, how you
Got
can
it.
move step by step to make it more reusable, readable, and so on.
Got it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we'll do many things. Okay, so this
Okay.
was first part. Okay, now the next part you can do is you can create another class, say called base test. Okay, now what we'll do in base test, as just Karan mentioned, that before class, before method, after method, all these will not only be used by this particular class, but will be used by a lot of other classes as well, because it's the common thing. You have to navigate to browser, then you log in, then you do all your tests, then you sign out, and then you close the browser. So these steps will remain same in all your test classes, no matter how many tests you're adding, right? So what I'll do, I'll just copy this whole code, all the hooks, cut from here, and we'll move to base test, right? But when we are moving to base test, how will articles know that you have to run these hooks? So for that, you can just simply extend what that base test. So what we are doing, basically we are what are you using? Inheritance to reuse the code. Okay, you press shift control O, all the unwanted imports will go off, right? So in the base test, I have all the hooks, whereas in articles tests, I will only have tests. Okay, so the purpose of this whole class is only to write test cases. Any reusable code in this class or in other test classes will actually go in base test. Now, if let's say apart from articles, I start creating another class, say for example, I'm writing a test for maybe feeds. I have global feed, right? So I'll say global feeds test dot test. Okay, let's say I've created this class. Now I also have to add all the login, I mean, navigate, sign in, sign out, and close. I don't have to do anything. Just go here, just say extends base test. Done. This class also have all those things added. You create your test case and done. Right? Say for example, I add a test case, public void. Let's say I call it verify global feed. Okay, and in this you can write your logic to verify the global feed. Right? So this was another part. Any questions? Okay, so far we have only uh, like you can say structured this test layer. Now let's do one thing, move out our code of application from here to application layer. Okay, how you're going to do that? For that, I have created a folder with name as in src main Java. I have created a folder with com.conduit.pages. Okay. Usually in Java, we follow this syntax of your whatever application you're testing in a reverse order. So if I'm testing conduit application, I can simply say com.conduit. And I've created pages. Okay. Now here, whenever we use any framework, you can use some design patterns. One of the design pattern is page object model, and an advanced version of it is page factory. Okay. uh, so I will use the same design pattern. Now what is that design pattern? It says whatever application you are testing, in that whatever pages you have, for every page create a separate class, right? So say for example, now for my conduit I'm testing the article page, right? So I'll do one thing. I'll say article page. Okay. So usually we are interacting with three different pages. We are interacting with home page, we are interacting with the sign in page, and we are interacting with article page, right? So for now, I'll just create two. Let's say I create one as article page and second as login page for Java. Okay. Now let's go back to our test case. So our test case was in articles right here. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to move this code from here to this article page.java. Okay. But for that, we need a lot of things, right? Like if you see in the articles, we have this driver. Okay. And we need to pass the same driver instance everywhere, right? And where this driver instance is being initialized in the base driver here. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's start optimizing this whole code one by one. Okay, so for that, I have this common libs here. Okay, so right now I just created this application layer in which I've created two pages. We'll write the code in that, but before that, I'll also create this common libs. In common libs, I'll add the implementations. How? Let's see. In common libs, I will be segregating my classes based on the way you interact. Okay, so one thing is we are going to have a lot of method directly from the driver instance. Okay, like I want to navigate to a particular page, or I want to reload the page, or I want to go back, I want to go further, I want to get the title, I want to get maybe some page URL, right? All that we do directly with the browser will go here. So I call it common driver. Okay. Then one more class for element interacting with elements. So let's say I call it element control. Okay. Now in common driver, what is the very first step we do? Always navigating to a or opening a browser and navigating to a URL, right? So that part we can keep in constructor. So I'll create a constructor, and this constructor will keep as say string browser type. That means I'm making it generic, that you pass the browser type and based on that I'll open the browser. Okay, and I'll add one more code which is to open browser, or so say navigate to maybe URL. This is the method I'm adding, and in this I'll pass the URL. So here the very first thing we need to do is we'll use this browser type. Okay, and we can say equal ignore case. If it is equal to Chrome, then open the Chrome browser. Else if your browser type is of Edge, open the Edge browser. Okay, else if of Firefox. Open the Firefox browser. And in the last, you can say else. If nothing works, then you can open. You can just skip this part. You can say throw exception. We'll see why it is giving error. Okay, I think I need one more closing bracket. So for now, I'm just going through basics. So just if else, you can have better ways to use instead of else if else also. Okay, now here, first of all, I'll create private web driver. Okay, why private web driver? Because we will also use some object-oriented concept. So the one of the object-oriented concept is encapsulation, that you hide all the properties. Okay, so private web driver, then we'll initialize this driver. I'll write the logic to initialize this driver. So I'll say Chrome driver. Okay, usually you might have seen we also add system.set property. So what I've done is the browsers have already set as environment variable, so I don't have to add that step. Okay, so similarly here I'll say driver equal to new edge driver, and then here I'll add the code to driver equal to new Firefox driver. Okay, and in the last you can simply say throw new exception. And what type of exception you're saying? Say invalid browser type, and you can also mention what is the browser type you're passing. Okay, but if you're throwing an exception, your method should also throw. So I can say throws exception. Right? And then you can add the code of whatever we have added in the base test, like setting up all this and so on. So let's say these two line of code, I'll move from here to common driver. Right? So we have initialized the browser. We have set this implicit wait and explicit wait as well. Okay. Or else you can do one thing. I'll move this implicit wait and explicit wait here. I'll tell you the reason. Okay. In few minutes. Okay, and then you can go back. Now I don't need all this code because I've already defined my ways to navigate to a browser in a separate method, right? So what you can do is you can create instance of this common driver class. So common driver, let's say common driver, and then I can say common driver equal to new common driver. Right? And here you pass what is the browser type you want. So let's say Chrome. Now this line of code will do the same thing. Okay, and if we have moved that part in here. Okay, what we have done is we are not using any method from Selenium directly. This is one of the rule whenever you're building any or whenever you're writing any code, that don't use the method provided by an external library directly. Rather, wrap them up in another method. Okay, so these are wrapper methods. You're not using any functionality of Selenium directly. Rather, you are wrapping that up and then you are using that method somewhere else. What is the benefit? The benefit is, if let's say tomorrow Selenium decides to change something, say instead of edge driver they call it maybe MS edge driver, right? Then you don't have to
Sarah, I was just trying to understand, when you say wrapping that up, what do you mean? I can understand you're saying maybe from the database point of view of Selenium, what you're not doing is copying that particular format or script and then pasting it in. But what do you mean by wrapping it up? That is what I'm trying to understand.
Okay, wrapping up means, see, when I had create, say for example, this method. Okay, this driver is instance of I mean WebDriver, right?
Right.
Object of it's a Chrome driver object, and then this find elements is directly a method provided by Selenium, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm in my test script, I'm directly using it. Now let's say tomorrow Selenium changes this method. Instead of calling it find element, they call it get element. Maybe they are releasing a new version and they want to deprecate the previous method. It happens normally. Whenever a new version comes, usually some of the old methods go and gets deprecated, right? So if you are used it find element all these places, what will happen? You have to change at all these places,
Every
right?
line.
Every
Right.
line. So maybe if you're using this 100 times, you're going to change it 100 times, right?
Right.
Better approach will be, instead of searching it, I mean, better approach will be, instead of calling this find element here, you write another method, which is a wrapper method, like here I did, that these lines of code I've wrapped in another method. Now here, instead of calling this driver.get method, I'll be calling common driver dot navigate to URL and will pass this URL. So if let's say something is being changed, gets changed in this method get, instead of changing at multiple places, now I only have to go to this navigate to URL and change it once. Make sense?
Right. Okay. So it will pick up that line, which the one that, oh god, I can just about see it from here. Sorry, I'm having to use my phone because I'm doing stuff on my laptop. Yeah. So where it says like the find element bit. Okay. So for example, that let's just say it would. If on that website it's changed certain sections of it, like that line of code, it will pick up the changes in that code, right, from that website.
Yeah. So consider it like this: if let's say tomorrow Selenium changed this method, which is a page load timeout, so they have deprecated this and introduced a new method. Okay. So now you don't have to go and change at 10 different places. If let's say this method is being used at 10 different places, you don't have to go 10 places and change it. Rather, you'll just come here, change it once, and it will be reflected everywhere else. So this way is called wrapping up the method. Like you're wrapping up the functionality in your own code and then using it instead of directly using the method from a library.
Right. Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of it in terms of how, you do like a server PHP update where you call up, you instead of doing the line of code per se yourself, you type in the URL and the URL is linking itself to the particular types of wrapped code. And so all it does is change those particular lines of code, which is almost similar to the find tool, right? So if you were to put get Surah as one of the lines of the code, you can do find and then you can amend it to a particular code directly, rather than having to scroll through and find it yourself. It will alter it.
Okay, so what I understand is you're saying, if let's say if this is the get, I'll just search and change it everywhere. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so
it searches it,
that is,
and then it alters it, but you're doing it from the actual the website URL link. So if it's changed, if they've changed a particular calling on the code, it will find it and then update all of it with that terminology.
But still, it's more like a lot of maintaining job comes into picture, right? I mean, if let's say it's not just 10 places, it's 100 places, and it's changing every now and then. So it becomes really difficult to search all and then change.
But the system can find all of it, it highlights all of it, and then it can alter it for you.
I agree that is a feature of your, whatever tool you're using. But just imagine it's at 1,000 places and maybe 1 or 2 places it just it's not updated, or maybe there was some error which happened. So why?
Oh, type error. Okay,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Then why you should want to get into that scenario where you have to um, like search so many things and then change?
No,
Or
I
maybe
mean, I wouldn't want to do it myself, but I'm just explaining that
Yeah.
from what you've said, this is how I'm understanding it.
Okay, I'll
So
give you one.
instead of you typing into it, like doing it yourself manually, this is how the system would read it. It's almost as if the system is doing it for you, finding those lines of code that have it. The system then updates it to the current line of code that it should be, in line with whatever they've changed it to. And if there's any line that isn't quite correct, it might query that up, but it should update it to the most relevant code.
Sure, I'll give you one more use case. Maybe that will help. Okay, I remember this happened with me in one of the application I was testing. Now let's say let's take an example. Okay, so what happens is you're building a say test or web application. You were testing it. Okay, and there is a new feature which comes in, and what it is doing is, let's say it has three columns. Okay, let me show you with an example. Or where is Moodle link? I think I have it here. 1 second. Okay, let me open it. Okay, so let's just imagine that you're creating 1 second. So on a web application, you were adding a feature which needed, say, multiple columns. Okay, like this. You have a big section, and now you want to add some 3 columns in it. Say like this. Okay. Now every application has some limitation, right? You cannot just keep adding. I mean, every screen has a size, and you have to make your application responsive enough that it does not break. Okay, but one of the feature was that you needed to show 3 columns. Okay, now let's say here you added a scroller that to show the whole content, you added a scroller like this. It scrolls and then shows you the complete content. Now here you have a say one text let's say there is a column like this. Okay, and there is another button next to it, which is a click button. Okay, but that appears only when you scroll till right. Okay, now once that comes in on the screen, then only you can click on it. Okay, so if you have written everything, say without this feature, okay, and all of a sudden this new feature comes in where your element gets hidden, and now you have to write or basically change this. Okay, so instead of I mean, what will happen if say you're interacting with 10 different elements of this? So you have to search all those 10 elements and go and manually add the logic of scrolling and then clicking, right? 10 elements, like same way you have to write a logic of scrolling to right and then click on it. This will be the thing. Okay, but here if let's say you are using a wrapper method, there is a code. If you're using a wrapper method, then you don't have to go at all that 10 places. Rather, in at one single place, say in here, I will add the logic to scroll first and then click. Maybe there is a method called click. In here I can add, say I have a method public void click element. Okay, and let's say I'm taking the element from outside. We'll come to this also in some time. Okay, so here I have the logic to say element dot click. Okay, So instead of now changing at all those places where we need, I can simply say, I can simply write the logic of mouse over here, mouse over here, or basically movement or the scroll, basically the scroll operation. Scroll operation to make that element visible and then only click on it. Does that answer the question? I mean, did you get an idea? I mean,
Yeah, I did. Sorry, I just realised you've actually just explained what I was just talking about, but in a different way.
okay. So yeah,
But yeah, it's just so that went clear. I
okay.
think somebody just meant was it Med? I think was saying something about waiting times. I don't know what he or she is referring to.
Okay, there is okay,
I
Lana.
don't know what
I
waiting
think we
time
are
is.
waiting time. Wrapping is a
No,
command.
no,
Is
no,
yeah.
no, just,
Making no sense.
sorry, no, just to focus on automation, and Sarah has a lot of to share, and I think wrapping it's just factorized. You can search it. It's common in Java and in programming. So just let's be focused in the subject, please. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand anything Med said, but yeah, okay.
Okay, so he's saying it's a very common Java pattern. Maybe we should focus on the rest of the topics. Okay, thank you, Meg.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hope you got an idea what exactly is this means. It's a very common pattern, not only in Java but in every programming language which follows object-oriented concept. That we never use any method directly from any library. Rather, we wrap the up because of many features it get. Two of the use cases I just showed you here. Okay, so next thing, so what we did, we have navigated to the URL, opened the browser with this one single line, and we are navigating to a URL with this single line, right? This is not required, so I'll remove it. Okay, now okay, this is giving me an error because this method is throwing an exception and I need to either put a try catch here. For now, I'll just throw. We can add try catch depending on where we need. For now, I'm just throwing exception. We will come back to this later. Okay, so now I want to test it. But to test, I need this driver. I still have kept this drive. I mean, I still have not moved the rest of the code in some automation layer. So I need the driver instance, right? But in common driver, we have everything. This driver is a private driver because of encapsulation. So what I'll do, I'll add a getter and setter. You can use getters and setters to get the value and set the value. So for that, there is a way you can directly create, right click, source, generate getters and setters. Right click, source, generate getters and setters. Now what I need, I don't need a setter, but I only need a getter. I want to use the value of driver outside, right? I want to use this value outside, but I don't want anyone from outside to modify it. So we are encapsulating our driver instance from outside world. We are not showing it the way how it is being done. So I'll just generate this. Okay, and we got this driver instance, and now here for now, what I'll do is I'll create a web driver, and we'll say that driver is equals to common driver dot get driver, right? And all your code is fine now. Shift Control O to remove all the unwanted things, and let's run this test to see. 1 second. Yeah, all the files are saved. So let's run the test to see if everything is working fine. So I'll go back to article test, run this test from here. So the very first thing it will do is again open the browser. You can see open the browser. but it is not navigating to the URL. Let's see why it is breaking. Okay, it has failed somewhere. Let me check. Okay, I think I have to change things. One second. Uh, I have added this global feeds, right? Let me delete it for now because there is no test, and I mean, this test is empty, nothing is written, and still it is running it. So for now, I'll delete it. We can add it later. Okay, and coming back, let's just check the base test. First, it is go to common driver. It's opening the Chrome driver is initialized. Then we are navigating to URL. Okay, here we have not written the command to get URL. So going back to article test, run this. Yeah, now it is navigating to the URL. So it is clicking. The rest of the code works also fine. Okay, so test is added. Right? So this common driver, now you can add a lot of other code which is related directly to a browser. Okay, what else you can do? You can add a method to say get uh, title of the page. Okay, so I can say return driver dot get title, and you can say public void or say string get page URL. That is something which we use frequently. We want to get what is the page URL. So you can say return driver dot get page get URL, get current URL. Right. So like this, you can add all those methods which you think are required directly in the common driver. Right. So this completes our common driver, and we have extracted out the logic of interacting with the browser in a separate class called common driver. Okay, so we have basically created one of the class here, right? Our test is in test layer. Now we need to move this code, which code? The application level code to applications. Let's do that one by one now. So first of all, I have say login page. Okay, in your uh, in your application code, you should only have the logic, no test, only logic. No assertion will come in application layer. Okay, so the logic is sign in, right? So I'll add a method public void say sign in. Okay, and how do you want to sign in? Say string username, string password. Okay, and for now I'll also pass the driver instance. So let's say for example web driver. This is not a good approach. We'll fix it in some time, but for now I just want to move all the code. Right, so let's go back to say base test. This logic of sign in, I'll move from here, cut, say for example where is my where's article no login page. Here I'll move this here. Okay. Maybe I can also add one more, navigate to sign in page. Something like this I can add. Okay, and there I just want this driver instance. And this first line where I'm clicking on sign in, I can move here. Right. Now, if we go back to our base test, we can first initialize all pages. Okay, what all pages we need, or let's say call it declare all pages. Okay, what all pages we need? First of all, login page. So I can say login page, login page, right? And then second I need is article page. So I'll say article page, article page. We have just declared them. We need to initialize them. So we'll initialize them here. Say login page equal to new login page. Okay, and article page equal to new article page. And we'll say login page dot first navigate to sign in page, pass the driver instance. Second, login page dot sign in, right? Driver instance, pass the username, say Gaurav1 at fake.com, and second admin. Right? So I've moved the logic of like the application logic from the test to which layer? To the application layer. Okay, it's not perfect code. We'll fix that, but I moved there. Let's just run it to see if everything is working fine. So I'll click on run and let's just see if everything is running fine. So you can see it navigating to the URL. I mean, open the page. It should click on sign in. Did logged in. Test is running. Fine. Right. This means if we go back to sorry base test. So this means this code is working fine. But if you see, we are passing driver instance everywhere. Is that actually required? No. How can we fix it? Let's go back to login page and fix it. So what you can do is instead of passing it in all the methods one by one, why not just define it or pass it in the constructor itself? Okay, so instead of using here, I'll copy, pass it in the constructor itself. Okay, and let's say at here I define one more which is private, and then we can say this dot driver is equal to driver. That means whatever we get from the constructor, we'll pass it to this driver instance, and we can now remove this driver instance here, and we can also remove this driver instance here, right? But we have to fix it here. First we need to pass the driver instance. Second, we have to remove this driver instance from here as well as from here. Right? So we are now only focusing on our functionality. We are passing the driver instance directly. There are again better ways. There are some other design patterns like singleton design patterns, which we can use to pass the same driver instance everywhere through dependency injection and all. But we can talk them in some advanced concepts, right? But like since we are building from scratch, let's go step by step. So now we are done this. So what we can do is I'll go back to my article test and see if everything is working fine. Let's run this test. Okay, everything worked fine and test is running fine. So what we did, we actually moved out the code of application from the test layer to the logic layer. Now, if let's say you're only testing, see earlier I was, I had written all the logic of signing in the same method. So if let's say I had to test only sign in, maybe with 5 different set of username and password, I had to write 5 different test cases. Rather now, I can only call this method to call the logic of signing in. You only have to change these arguments. Okay, I think I have not made that. Yeah, I have not made these generic. So I'll make this now. Right. So basically, we moved or extracted the code of logic or application from the test layer and moved it into the application layer. Right. Some more level of optimization we have done or refactoring of the code we have done. Let's do the same thing for say article. Where is our article test? Here is the article test, right? So I can move or extract this whole thing, go to article page. Okay, here first of all we'll need a constructor, so I can say article page. We need driver instance, so I'll pass web driver. Driver. Okay, we need to pass this private web driver also, and then we can say this dot driver equal to driver, and public void add article. We'll move this whole code. Right now you can parameterize this whole thing also. In fact, you can add one more method, public void navigate to article page, and you can move this line of code from here to here. Okay, so here you can pass a string article name, string article description. Okay, all those things which are argument, like as an argument, string say let's just add one more, say tags. Okay, just three things we can make parameterize. So article name, again there are some better ways you can do. I mean, you can use concepts of getters and setters for this also. Article name, let's say article disc, or let's say article description I put here, and tags here. Okay, now if I go back to my base, not base test, yeah, base test, first you need to make it driver. Okay. And then if we go to articles page, no, not articles page, article test, you can all call that article page dot add article with name, say learning Selenium, with description in online meetup, and say tags is meetup is a tag I've added. So if let's say now you want to test this article thing multiple times, you only have to call this, right? Maybe you want to test with different set of test data. Maybe you want to test what happens when you don't pass a description, what happens when you don't pass a title. All that different set of test cases which we create manually, everything can be tested here with different set of tests, and you don't have to write the whole logic again and again. Just write it once and reuse. Okay. For now we have not added any assertion, but in real tests all your assertions also comes in here only. Okay, I forget to add assertion, maybe we later we can add one. So you can, let's run it to see if everything is working fine. So yeah. Okay, I think I forget to add one logic. That is, before I add the article, I have to navigate to article page. Okay, let me stop this. Article page dot navigate to article page. Okay, let's run it. Yeah, now you can see it had added all the articles with this. Okay, so now our test layer is only calling the methods from application layer. No logic is there in the test layer, right? Here also you can see no logic in base test. We had logic in the setup, that is also removed, right? So what we have done so far is, what we have learned so far is, we started with everything in one class. We started segregating the code. First we moved the logic of navigating to the browser to common libs, right? And the application level code to a different layer. So we are keeping, when we are maintaining three different layers, right? One more thing, we have this driver.quit, right? Again, this is like closing the browser directly. So what I'll do is I'll move this part also in common driver because it should be here. So I can say public void close browser, and we'll move this code here. Okay. Since we are okay, let me just go back and base test, and I can say common driver dot close browser. Now, since we are here, there are a few more things we can do, right? Whenever you are accepting any string value, never directly use it. Rather, what you can do is you can add something like browser.type is equals to browser type dot trim. What does it mean? That so what happens is right now we have hard coded the value in base test here. Okay, you can read it from a config file, or you can read it from a configuration, maybe from a Excel sheet. So what happens in that case is we end up having some white spaces at the end, maybe while copy pasting or maybe while adding the Excel sheet. So these are the common mistakes people sometimes do. So we never use any string you're taking in an argument directly. Rather, wrap it up. Or sorry, trim it up. Okay. Similarly here, URL also. You can say URL is equals to URL dot trim. Okay. You can add some more. You can add some more checks here. Like one of the check usually we add with URL is that it should, or you can say starts with, that it always starts with, it should always start with HTTP, or maybe I can say, or URL, it's for over we use this URL dot starts with, say, HTTPS colon. If this happens, then only do this code. Else, you can throw exception, throws exception saying invalid. You can say throw new exception saying invalid URL. Okay, invalid URL, and then you break. I mean, since this part is executing inside the before class, if this will fail, it will break there only. It will not move further, right? So these are some of the checks you can add. Now, what happens if, let's say, you have passed a wrong URL? Okay, it tries to run that, and then it will wait. Then will run the next test. It will not find any elements. You'll get a lot of um, unnecessary failures. Adding these checks will make sure that everything gets. I mean, it only proceeds when this part is done, right? So if, let's say, prerequisite is failing, there is no uh, reason to move ahead, right? So these kind of checks you can add in your common drivers. Okay, maybe you are having these checks very frequently. Make them as a separate utility. I mean, in here you can create some utils. this utilities usually go here. So you can create a package with some utilities. You can call it utils and add those utilities in here. Okay, I'll show you a few more utilities when as and when we'll proceed. But you got an idea, right? What exactly I'm trying to say here. Like in this browser type, you can add a check. What happens is sometimes is maybe your browser got um, closed because of some crash. Okay, or it was just closed some in some other operation, and then you're calling the close browser. So we can add a check here if browser or if say driver is not null, not equal to say null, then only do the quit, otherwise don't do anything. If it is not null, then only do a quit, otherwise don't call anything, right? So these kind of checks you can add, a null check. Okay, now let's any question by the way anyone has so far? Okay.
Sure. So far it is so clear, but just for the confirmation I'm asking, if I run the test from any class, it will go to the base test, it will run the pre-setup and then setup, and then it will run my whatever test I'm running, right?
Yeah. So if you'll run
After
from
that,
here,
sorry. Yeah, go.
yeah, if you'll run from here, it will,
Okay.
since it is extending base test, and in base
Okay.
test you have your all the hooks. It will first run those hooks and then will run this test. Okay. Ideally, we don't run directly from classes. We run from either prom.xml or there is a concept in TestNG called testng.xml. You run from there. Okay. Now coming back to say article page or login page. Okay. Now here, if you see, we have directly called this driver.findElement and all, right? Also, there is a chance that we are writing duplicate code. How? If you see this by.css selector, that is I'm using CSS selector to search an email field, or I'm searching password field. Okay. Now, in your real-time application, you might have a lot of elements which you want to interact in different test scenarios. Maybe you want to interact with user field in 10 different scenarios. Are we going to repeat this again and again? No, right? The first, um, the first motive of you should be that if there is anything which is repeated twice or is written more than one times, um, write it in a generic way and reuse it. Okay, so what we can do, we can use these elements to, we can define all these elements once and then reuse them. Okay, for that, usually in my normal classes I cover a lot of different design patterns which are available. Because of limited time, I'll cover one commonly used design pattern. Okay, so the commonly used design pattern is page factory. How you use? We use something called find by for that. So I can say at find by. This is an annotation provided by Selenium only. And you can use say private web element and give the name of the element. Say for example, I say email field. Okay. Now, when you're using design pattern, when you're using this at find by annotation, you can pass the locator and its value here. Okay, so if for example we have CSS selector, it's only CSS, so CSS and its value. So I can say copy and paste. Then I don't need to write this whole thing. I can simply say email field dot send keys. Okay, where the initialization happens, you can initialize here. You can use something called page factory dot init elements. Okay, here we pass where you want to initialize. So I'll say driver. Okay, and where are the elements in this current class? So using driver instance, initialize all the web elements which are annotated with add find by in this class. If let's say you have elements in a separate class, some people do that also. So there is a concept called object repository or object factory. Some people call them object factory, some people call them object repository, or some people call them element factory. What they do is they define all their elements in a separate class rather than in the same class. But I don't see any benefit of doing that, so I'll keep them here only. If you are keeping them in a separate class, then you can put the name of that class. Okay, then it will initialize those elements. Otherwise, we're done here. Now I can say at find by, I'll move all of them. So I at find by, this is link text. So I can say link text is sign in. So link text sign in, and my element will be private web element, and let's say element sign in link. Okay, so we can just remove this and we can say sign in link dot click. Okay, similarly, this whole thing will also go from here to at find by css. Let me just complete this class at least. So command V, and then I can say private web element, and let's say it's a password field. Okay, and then again at find by again CSS, and you can use this button. And I can say private web element, and let's say submit. Right? So here it will change to say email, no, password field. Password field dot element, and then this will change to button, submit button dot click. Now see, all my elements are initialized or defined in the top, right? And then we are using them bottom. And since we have moved them using page factory, we actually don't need this driver instance also. This private distance is also not, I mean, private driver is also not required. So you can see now how our code has even optimized now, right? We are defining all the elements once, calling them. If let's say tomorrow you want to use this email field 10 times, you don't have to define it again and again, just call it once. Okay, this design pattern also has few more benefits. If let's say you have ever heard of something called stale element reference exception in Selenium, so it protects you from that also. Okay, so what is stale element reference exception? Sometimes what happens is when you load your elements in the very start and something has changed or some element has updated in the DOM, in the page, okay, and you try to interact with the old element or old locator technique, then it gives you a stale element reference exception. So this avoids that, because what it do is at the time of interaction it looks into or research for the element again. Okay, I can explain it in detail. I mean, because of time I'll restrict it to this one, but yeah, we can discuss almost half an hour only on stale element reference exception with some examples. Okay, but yeah, this is what it do. Okay,
Hi, sorry to interrupt.
yeah.
How do you put CSS selector as a field name after the find by? Is it already is it a standard convention?
Yeah, it's a standard.
I can put any name over there.
No, it's a standard convention. There are total 8 locators: ID, name, class name, tag name, link text, partial link text, CSS selector, and XPath. These are 8 standard locator techniques in Selenium. Okay. And I can only use those 8 locators. So the most used one is either CSS or XPath, because usually you won't find others. So you have to be good at CSS, you have to be good at XPath. Okay, so that is what is covered when used here. Okay, now I have done a lot of modifications. So basically, we have done some standardization in here as well. We have reused a lot of code, or like defined the elements once. But if we see, we are still calling the methods of Selenium directly. We have not wrapped them up, right? So it's the time we should wrap them up. For that, we'll go to element control, and in element control, I'll write the uh, different methods. So I have created click element. You can have a lot of actions you can perform, like you can say um, type text. Okay, where you want to type on a web element, let's say element, and what do you want to type? Let's say string text to, and then I'll write it in a generic way, element dot send keys and text to, right? Similarly, you can have a lot of methods, like we have clear text, click element, type. We can have what else? Hover, mouse operation, a lot of things right there. So usually, I'll give you some more examples of it. But usually, what I prefer is I keep all these different things also as segregated. Like for, if I have to handle anything for drop down, I'll create a separate class for drop down. I'll call it drop down control. Okay, then let's say if I have to handle all the mouse operations, so I'll create a separate class for mouse actions or mouse control, I can call it. Say I want to do something. Say for example, I want to add a logic to take screenshots. Okay, so I'll create a screenshots class. Okay, so some of the example I can show you here. This is one sample thing. Okay, say for example, element control. So I've added send text, click element, clear element. You can add get text. This is also a very commonly used method. So you can say I want to add get text, right? You can have clear text and so on. So let's say drop down. So I can add logic to select via visible text. Okay, if let's say it's a screenshot util, so I can create a utility to take the screenshot. We'll come to this also, right? So these are some of the examples. We can add something like um, one class only for handling alerts, right? We get Windows alerts, right? So I can say I want to handle only alerts. Then I want to handle, say, frames. So I can say frame handling or frame control. Okay. Then I want to handle, say, windows, different windows, multiple windows. So I can say window control. Okay. So all these commonly used classes, you can keep creating them and segregate them. Now let's say I know in Selenium documentation I was reading that something has changed the way you handle drop downs. Okay, so what do you need to do? You will come here and okay, there is a change in drop down, so I know where to go now. I don't have to go in all the classes and find out, or maybe you can use control F feature to search that, but my navigation is easy because I know where exactly I want to go. And it also follows one more concept from best coding practice, that is solid principles. Like one of the solid principles says that you should do one thing in a class, not more than that, right? So that is also what we are achieving here. some best practices. Okay, any questions so far? So how we started? Remember everything in one class? Now in this class I only have one test case. In that, see how easy it is. Even it is easy for anyone to read. That okay, first I'm navigating to article page, then I'm adding article. What article? These are the parameters I'm passing. It's more readable also now. Okay, then I know, okay, this is what I'm doing, but there are some prerequisites. So for that, I can go to the base test. In the base test, again, if I'll start reading, I know first we are doing some setup, right? But in pre-setup again, all of a sudden some code came. I don't know what it is. So what you can do here also is you can create some private methods to make it more readable. Like I can say uh, navigate or I can say open browser. Okay, so I create I mean I've called this open browser but it's not there, so I can use 1 second. Okay, yeah, so when you hover over it, this Eclipse will tell you that you can create this private method. So I'll quickly create a private method and will move the logic from here to say here. And in fact, we can make it parameterize also. I can say that Chrome, and I can say string browser type. I'll tell you why I'm doing this. I mean, what is the benefit of writing this? See, the benefit is, let me move this code to the last, that it makes it more readable. How? When you came and you saw that it's a pre-setup, now when you read it, you'll know what we are doing. We are opening a browser. Which browser? Chrome browser. Okay, next I can say navigate to URL. Right, which URL? I'll copy this whole URL and paste it here. Right, I don't have this method, so we'll create this method. Okay, 1 second. Oh, 1 second. I don't have this method. I'll create this method, private method. Then I'll move this line of code from here to here. Okay, so now second, it will be URL and it will be URL. Throws exception. Let me move this code to last. Now see, you again have made your code more readable. So somebody comes and is reading your code. Let's say after a month or so, you also want to read your code, what you have done. So you know now, I'm in pre-setup because everyone know that okay, it starts with before class. So I'll go to before class. Okay, it's a pre-setup. First I'm opening a browser, then I'm navigating to a URL. Okay, then you can write another method, say page initialization. Okay, and what you're doing in the page initialization, basically you are okay, 1 minute, sorry, should be semicolon. Hover over it, create page initialization, copy these two code, move here, okay, and cut, move here. So again, it has improved your readability. Now you know in pre-setup, first we are opening the browser, then we are navigating to URL. You can move this also into another method, and then we are page initializing the page. See uh, how you made your code more readable without even adding any comment. Just by looking on at the name of the method, I know what I'm doing. Right? So what is this? This makes your code more readable. Any questions so far?
Please, the driver property, we use it in the bus test.
Sorry, I forget. I didn't get your question.
The driver property, did we use it in the bus test?
Yeah, we are using it in base test only here. We have initialized here.
Can you show me? Yes, can you show me please when we reference? Yes.
No, we are not using it. We can remove it. Great.
Okay.
We're not using it for now. Maybe we will be requiring it later. I think we need it. No, I don't think we need it. Yeah. So
no. Maybe we injected. We added as a property for the page. Maybe.
Yeah.
So, slide bottom, please.
Okay. Yeah, we need it. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. We need it. Sorry. Okay, I didn't realize this last part. Yeah, we need to initialize the pages. We need it. Yeah. There are other patterns also you can follow. Maybe a singleton pattern where you just initialize your driver instance once, but that is advanced part. Let's not go into that for now. Okay. Yeah. So again, we have formatted our code, made it more readable, made it more reusable, right? Okay. Let's see more things. What else we can do? So. What else we can do is we can manage our code. Like test management is also a very a feature which you need. Like you want to run only sanity scenarios, or you want to run only smoke scenarios, or you want to run regression suit, right? Different type of test scenarios you want to run. So what I can do is all that management in here we can actually do through TestNG thing. Okay. What we can do is, this is my test, right click on it. There is an option in the bottom called TestNG, and use this convert to TestNG. This will open up uh, a thing like this, or basically a way you can create your XML file. Okay, so I'll call it, say, test suite. So let's say conduit app test suite is what I'm creating. Let's say test, I'll keep test, nothing changing. Okay, rest, nothing I'm changing, and click on finish. What this will do, it will create an testng.xml file. Okay, now you can run your code from this XML file directly. This gives you a lot more scope. How? Let's see. So right click, run as, run as. First of all, I'll run it using TestNG suite. So let's first see if everything is working fine or not. So you can see I've navigated, signing in, article tested, close, done, right? Let's say you have another, or let's not do it. Okay. Let's see what all we can do here. First thing, right now we are testing everything within one class, right? So basically you can add multiple classes from here. So if let's say you have 5 different test classes, so you can add all those test classes here. It will run all those tests. Okay, second thing, you want to run everything in a package, so you can also, or let me just do one thing. Let's keep this as is, and right click, copy this, and say paste. I'll call it package execution. So what I can do is, instead of putting all the classes, I can say packages and define the package. Yeah. I can say package. Which package? It's com.conduit.test. So com.conduit.test. Okay. This is the name of the package. Control F, save. Now when you'll run from here, all the classes which will be there in this package, it will run from there. Okay, it will run the same way. So yeah. Another thing you can do is you can say I want to test this article test with three different browsers. Okay, I want to test it with say Chrome. I want to test it with say Firefox and Mozilla. Okay, so for that we have to do a minor change, like based on the current configuration. Uh, or do I need to change it? I think I don't need to change it, but yeah, let's see. So what I'll do here is I'll make it parameterize. So there is a concept called parameter you can use from TestNG annotation. Okay, which parameter I want to pass? Say string browser type. That is, I'll make this pre-setup also as what parameterize. Okay, so we'll pass this as variable, and here we'll move it to browser. Right now, I will go to my testng.xml. Okay, here in the test, we'll pass something called parameter. What is the name? Browser type. Okay, and what is the value? Chrome. Instead of hard coding the value inside the base test, we moved that also to XML file. Right, so right click, run as TestNG suite. So you can see now it will open up the Chrome browser. See, so you have moved out your configuration from hard-coded value to an external XML file. Right, what's the benefit? If let's say tomorrow you want to change from Chrome to say Firefox, it's just a change in this file, and even you can make this parameterizer pass through a say through a command line and use that way. Okay, another thing, let's say I copy this whole test once more. So now these becomes two test cases. Let's say this I call as test case 1 and this I call as test case 2. Okay, what is this now? These are two different tests. You can run this on Chrome, you can run the other one on Edge. Now the problem is on this browser I don't have any other browser. I forget to install other browser. Usually I use my other laptop, but today I'm using this one. So I forget to add the other browsers. But it's just matter of changing this parameter here. And your test will run on Chrome as well as on Firefox or Edge, whatever you give. Okay, let's see. Right click. For now, what I'm doing, I'm running it 2 times, both on Chrome. So it will run 2 times. Right click, run as TestNG suite. So first it is running the first test. Again, it is running on Chrome. Right, both the tests executed. Now, if let's say you want to run them two different tests on two different browser, but in parallel, you want to reduce the time. Okay, now parallel execution has a lot of things, like you can use Selenium grid for running on parallel. You can using Selenium grid, you can run on two different machines, or you can use Docker to set up in a way that you run on different nodes of Docker. Right, you can use tools like Lambda test or browser stack to test it on different say devices, but that's a paid solution. Right, but let's say you want to run it in parallel on same machine. So all you do need to do is just say parallel equal to all these are the options available. So I'll say tests. I want to run all, oh, sorry, I'll just say tests. So I want to run both my tests in parallel. Right, so right click, run as TestNG. So usually you'll find a gap of few seconds. Yeah, I think it's running on two different browsers, showing you one on the screen, but usually it runs. No, it's running in a sequential order only. My bad. I have given this at wrong place. It should not be here. One second. Yeah, it should not be here. It should be at suit level, because we are within a suit. You have different tests, right? So now if I say right click, run as TestNG suit. Uh, I'm not, yeah, okay. If you go back to console, you'll see, okay, you can see the time of execution actually from there. See, both the Chrome versions are getting started at the same time, right? Here also exactly at the same time. This also got printed at the same time. If you'll go and check the report, uh, the time of, I think it does not, okay, there is a place where you can see. If you go to your project, right click, refresh, yeah, refresh, you will see in the test output folder, there is a report called available report. Right click, open with browser. Yeah. So you can see the start time. It's hardly in milliseconds. It's 56255939, 300 milliseconds different. That anyways you'll find, because it's the way, I mean, your um, the JVM will also take time to send the request, right? So yeah, and this is the report you get usually through TestNG directly, right? So you can run your tests in parallel. Now you can integrate this whole solution with CI/CD. Oh, sorry, you can integrate this whole solution with Selenium Grid. Selenium Grid can be used to run on parallelly on different machines. It can be used to run parallelly on uh, different Docker nodes as well. So yeah, so there are a lot of other things we can do with this testng file, like you can run on parallelly on different browsers. You can run a maximum of 5 or 10. I mean, you can fix that as well. You can run packages. You can create groups also. What does mean by group? Say for example, you have 100 test cases and you only want to run, say, uh, 5 out of it, which are part of sanity. Okay, let me show you with an example. Say I go here, copy this test, and add it 2 more times. Okay, let's say I verify articles. I add one, and I add two. So these are like my different articles. Okay, maybe for adding some differentiation, I add, let's say, two. Add one here, and nothing is there. Okay, so these are three of different tests now, right? Now you can add different groups in it. Okay, how will you add groups? So there is another, not annotation, but there is a attribute you can pass here, that is groups. Okay, groups is a list. So you can pass something like, say, I want to run all the sanity scenarios. Okay. Um, uh, 1 second. I'm not sure what is going wrong. 1 second. I think I forget the syntax. Um, okay, where's the programming? So I see test. say this. Okay, yeah, forget. It should be, I mean, list is passed not with a square bracket. It should be curly braces like this. Okay, so you can pass multiple groups as well. Say it is part of sanity as well as regression. Right? Now the only challenge which comes with this is when you are creating a groups is okay. Uh, this base test. Okay. What by default TestNG expect is if let's say you have passed any group as test, say sanity, then you need to run all these or add all these as sanity, right? Or there is a better approach. You can pass one tag called always run equal to true. What this tag means does not matter which group you are running. These method will always run. If you want to be specific that if sanity test run, then I want to run a few things before every test, then you can create another setup and specifically mention that it only runs when the group is sanity. Okay. Now, if I go back to this, where is this? In the TestNG, I copy this, paste. Let's say I call it group execution. Okay. So in the group execution, let's say I change this to 1. Okay, I can actually remove this also. I don't need parallel tests. Right, inside the test, you can add which group you want to run. So you can say groups. In groups, you'll have a run, and in run, you can say which group to run. So there are two ways. You can either exclude or include. So let's say I call it include. Include sanity. That means run all the tests which is part of sanity. Okay. So in article test, even though we have 3 test cases, it will only run one. Right. So let's say if I copy this and add it to one more test, let's say it only has sanity, no regression. So if let's say I run, so you have to run from here, group execution, right click, run as TestNG suite. Yeah, I think we need to modify a few of the logic because of that setup. I mean, something is breaking here. Uh, uh, I think closing browsing because what happened is since we have added two different tests, right? So what it did, it started the browser, then clicked on sign, then we did the add article, and the page is different now. So we have to write the logic to either sign out, the actual sign out, so that it can go back to sign in once again in the second step. Okay, that is the problem. So basically here we need some modification in the test, but you got the idea, right? So these things comes when you keep scaling, keep practicing, keep adding new things and so on. Okay, so yeah, these are the features. Now any questions so far, by the way?
Sorry, sure. Actually, I didn't realize I'm in unmute. Okay. So what I'm asking is, will only TestNG will help us to do all this powerful stuff, or I can use any test framework to do this?
JUnit 4 does not provide you these features like grouping or creating test suites or something. I mean, they do provide, but not to this level. But JUnit 5, yes, is providing now. If you talk other frameworks, NUnit with C# do provide. If you're going with JavaScript, Mocha framework do provide. Okay, but if not, then there are ways to to do this. I mean, there are other ways we can find out. It's just that these are the capabilities which TestNG has by default.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. Now, considering the time, I'll quickly cover a few more topics. First thing, let's add the reporting utility. Okay. So I already have code written for that. I'll quickly explain you the code. So there are a lot of reporting mechanism available in market. You can create your own also, but I don't prefer creating things which are already available in a good way in the market. To, I mean, there is no need to recreate the wheel, right? It's already there. So let's say here I create a new class and I call it extend report utils. Okay, and here I'm adding the logic of generating the report. Now let me explain you this report utils and how you can actually use any third-party library, right? So all you need to do is go to just one second. There were people. Okay, I think I forget to mention here people. Okay. Just one second. I'll quickly give the link to the people who want to join the meetup. I didn't realize I was live. Okay. So, yeah, where we are. What I was explaining, yeah, extent report. Okay. So, extent reports, right? I'll go to extent reports. This is the documentation. Okay. I go to docs. The version 5.4.3 for extent reports. There is not much change. Okay, but sorry, no. In version 5, a lot things has changed. So I'll go to version 5 and see. So what you need to do is go to this and understand what all you need from a report and see what all interfaces and classes are available. That's the very first thing I usually check. So I went to this extent reports, right? And in here, the very first thing is you need to add the dependency. So here is the dependency. You can copy this and add it there. Then come down. Now I need to generate an HTML report, say, and I want to create tests in the report. I want to add logs, add the status, pass or fail, and close the report. These all things are need, right? So to generate an HTML report, there is a class called extend spark reporter. Here it is. To generate a Clove live report, Clove is basically a live dashboard which extend report provides. So we have this this one, and then we have more things like this is just to generate an HTML report, but we need a reporter first. So that reporter is available here, extend reports. Okay, so you when you read it, you'll understand these are the interfaces and classes are available. Okay, then search the method. So I know, okay, when you'll read, you'll understand to create a method, to create a test case, this is the method. To pass a log, this is the method. And to close the report, we have this method. And using all this knowledge, I have created this utility here, which is first, we are defining all the three variables we need. First, we need as a reporter. Okay. Second, I need is, since I want to generate an HTML report, I need extend spark reporter. And third, to create a test, I need extend test. Initialize all the three. Okay. Attach the a reporter with this so that you can generate an HTML report. Then a method written to create a test, a method written to add the log, and a method return to close the report. Okay, or flush the report. Okay, so now my utility is ready to generate any report. Right? Now we'll start from base test. Usually, when you create a report, you want one report for all your tests, right? So would I add the logic to create a report in before class? No. Rather, I will add it even before that. So I'll say before suit public void. Let's say I call it uh, maybe pre setup or something. Let's say some for now I'll call it generate report. I need to think of a better name, but let's say I call it generate report. Okay. I've added before suit. That means all your tests run before that. Create this. Any test you execute before that, run this. Okay. I'll create say extend report utils. What is the name we've given? Extend report utils. Let's say report utils. Then you create this report utils as equals to new extend report utils and pass the file name. Okay, now how will you generate the file name? Okay, so to generate the file name, let's say I create string report file name. Okay, so I have created this folder with name reports. Inside this, I'll create, right? So I can say report file name is equals to system dot get property user dot dir. What I'm doing, this method in Java gives you the current working directory, that is your framework development. In that I have a folder called reports, so I'll say plus reports. There are better ways to do it, but because of time constraint I'm doing it in this one. And let's say in that I call it conduit dot html or conduit report dot html. The system.get property, I'm getting the current working directory, and in that we are adding the reports folder, and in that conduit reports.html. Right? So we got this report file name and we will pass this here. This will create the report. Then we need to add our at after suit to close the report. I'll say close report. And here we'll say report utils dot flash report. Right? Now you have the report utils variable. Just use it to create whatever you want. Say here I say dot create test case, and let's say I call it pre setup. What we are doing in pre setup, let's say or let's just call it pre-setup. Everyone when done, I can say initialize prerequisites. Right? This is a test case is created. Now I need to add logs in that. So we will say report utils dot add logs. Let's say in the add logs, if you'll see, it takes two things. If you go to that particular test, you'll say one, we are passing the status, which can be info, which can be warning, which can be pass, which can be fail. You can add more of these status as well. So I'll go here and let's say I want to add info level log at initializing niche here Initializing test case. Right. So initializing test case. Copy this, add one more time. Not initializing, let's say initializing or opening browser. Let's say this is the log. Opening browser. Which browser? Add that messages. So this is basically just the logs you're adding for your debugging purpose later, right? Here I'll say init or navigating to a URL, right? So navigating to a URL, and then you mention which URL. You can also mention that. So these becomes part of your logs, okay? And then let's say here, let me quickly add it so that we can proceed. Here I add, so let's say cleanup, and I can say here close browser, right? And oh, sorry, this is setup. Here I can say setup. What we are doing in setup, open browser. Like this, you can add one more in the cleanup. Let's say sign out cleanup, and post cleanup close browser, right? And then you go to article test and add your test case. Say for example here I say here this is test case hashtag 01, and what is the test case? Verify add article, right? Verify add article. Now let's run this test. Sorry. So to run the test, what I'll do, I can go to say testng.xml, or let's say group execution, and I can say instead of include, I can say exclude. Okay, one second. Yeah, I can say exclude, say which sanity. Only exclude the sanity test. Okay, what happened? Okay, let me do a control D. Here I can say exclude sanity. Now I can run right click as TestNG. So this will run all the tests except sanity. So the test where we have added that will run. Okay, and you can see test pass, go to reports, right click, refresh. So here you can see a report is generated, right click, open with web browser, you will get a better looking report, right? It's way better than with what TestNG gives us. See, first we are initializing, opening the browser, then we have our test case. We can add the logs in the test case like this. You can have info level log, warning level log, and then you close the browser. So you get a better looking report. Okay, there are a lot of things we can do. Like if your test fails, we can add uh, logic to automatically generate a screenshot. You can add logic to create screenshot on every step. Okay, a lot of things you can add and write them in a way that if it's reusable, if you're using it again and again, you write it as a utility and then just include it at the correct hook. Okay, so yeah, this is one example of how you start from base and progress and create a proper looking framework. Okay, in this example, if you see, like the one which I basically was referring. In this, if you see, I'll show you a few things. We have some weight utilities which you can use for different weights, like wait till element visible, wait till element become clickable, wait till element become um, a lot of utilities, visible, clickable, alert is present, and so on, right? Then we have utilities to generate screenshots. Okay, I can write the logic of generating screenshot on failure in after test. I think it's not there in this logic, but okay, I think this framework is not complete. But you can write the logic of generating the screenshot on every test failure in after method, right? So yeah, this is an example how you can start creating frameworks. Okay, and think in this term that you have to not repeat anything again, right? Now, I'll share you a link in which you will get much more than this, right? What exactly I wanted to cover, I'll give you that. Because of time, I could not complete. I miscalculated. I thought I would be able to complete, but not. But yeah, I'll give you the link which you can follow for the rest of the code. Okay. Uh, any questions before I just jump on to the last thing before we leave?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for this session. It was really awesome, to be very frank. Uh, what the query which I have is, I want to know if you can share this code as a GitHub for us.
Yeah, I'll share. I'll share.
Yeah, and
Just
one more question. Sorry.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
please,
Go ahead.
please, 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 please.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
fine. I want to even I want to have the initial class which you have as in one single file, because I want to replicate whatever you did it just by practicing.
Okay, okay.
Is it possible to put as a separate directory or a folder? Because
I'll rewrite the whole
we
thing.
want to go from 0 to 10, whatever you did step by step. Only then we can implement in our company or in a self project, anything else.
Yeah,
That will
yeah.
be great.
I'll do that. I need to rewrite. I forget to save that file, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'll rewrite it. Okay, just to add on the things. Um, this is what I told you is how you will start. But if you want to learn the complete Selenium, TestNG, then these frameworks and much more, right? How to integrate them with CI/CD tool, how to integrate with them with Git, Maven. What is Maven? What if you need to learn more about Maven? I have a course which is live. Okay. Uh, Give me 1 second. I'll quickly show you all. If you're interested, on Miro Academy under courses, I have this course, Master Selenium Basic to Advanced Level, which for a couple of more days I'm running a discount of 40% and it costs you only 2,999, including GST, all the taxes and everything, which is less than close to $40. Okay. This covers everything from scratch, where we will be first covering Selenium as a subject, then we will be learning the locators, weights, all the different weights we have in detail. Then we'll be learning how to handle windows, alerts, frames. Then we have some case studies. Case studies, as in I'm automating some live applications. Then we have TestNG basics, TestNG advanced concepts. All those I was explaining is covered in detail, each and every topic. Then we have grid, how to set up grid, running it on different nodes, multiple nodes. Then starts the test automation framework, which again I go from very basic to everything we have discussed will be covered in detail in 23 different sessions. Yeah, the count is 23 here. Then how to integrate it with CI/CD tool, setting up Jenkins, running Selenium code through Jenkins, and then the most important thing, every week I have live doubt clearing session. Okay. The only difference you will find on, I mean, you can definitely find different frameworks on Udemy or on Coursera or all the different platforms. I do agree. But the extra thing I've giving you here is that you can actually uh, get live doubt clearing session every weekend. Okay, and this happens in two different time zones. One in the evening, like half an hour or 1 hour before we started this, and in early morning, usually for the people who are from a time zone which suits them. Okay, usually in every class I get somewhere around 10 to 12 people, but if the audience are more, then I'll divide them. Okay, I don't prefer to go more than 10 or 12 people. uh, why you should join this? I'm a, like a trainer on Coursera, and I have more than 32 different courses, and all of them are 4.5 or above rating. My Udemy course, which is very similar course which I am just showing you. Yeah, this is my course. It is highest rated course from last 3 months on Coursera. I know it's available at a cheaper price there, but the thing which you'll not get here will be the live classes that I offer exclusively to people who join here. Okay, I'll share the link in chat if in case you want to enroll. It's just for $40, but the thing you get is weekend live doubt clearing session. And yes, this course is yet not complete. I'm going to add a lot of more. I mean, whatever I mentioned is complete, but I'm going to add a lot of more things. Like next week, I'm going to add how to integrate it with Docker. So first, I'll cover what is Docker, how you can use Docker, how you can install Docker, what are the various commands, and then in that, I will add how you can use Docker to integrate with Selenium such that you can run your tests on multiple different nodes. That is coming next week. Then the following week, I'm going to add a few more modification in the way we are developing the frameworks. Okay. Then next week, I've planned to add some reporting tools, some extra reporting tools apart from extent report. And like this, I'll keep adding the different utilities so that it keeps becoming an extensive tool. Yeah. So yeah, I've just shared it in chat just in case anyone wants to buy this. Any questions, please let me know.
Sorry, I'm asking too many questions, sir.
No worries.
How to get this local instance of conduit just for
Okay.
doing some practice?
Okay. For that,
Or is there any site where we can just play around?
okay, you can actually use another application. I mean, I have my own hosted applications also. There is test.qatechhub.com. Okay. It has some, I'll share this link also. This I've created only for the practice purpose only. So if you want to practice the form, so you go to forms. This is the page you can try for forms. Okay, then we have file download, alerts, windows. Like if you want to handle how to help, you want to learn how to handle alerts, you can use this. If you use Windows, then you click, it opens up a new window. You can handle this. Then accordion, how to handle the accordion. All these are there. Okay, so this I've shared in the chat. If in case you want to work with conduit only, then 1 second, I'll give you the link. It must be on my GitHub. 1 second. Mm-mm. Okay, in GitHub, no. Yeah. This is the application. I'm sharing it in chat. When you download this application, let me show you this also. So So once you have downloaded this application, you can use git clone to get this. After that, inside this, you need to run a command called npm install. Okay. You need to have Node before this. So install Node. Any version is fine. I think 14 is the version which works. Okay. So just do Node install. Sorry, npm install. This will install the Node modules. Okay. After that, you need to run one simple command npm start. And once you run npm start, this application will be up and running. Okay.
Yeah, got it. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hello, I have a question, please.
Yes, please. Yes.
Sora, so for example, if we have two data sets and we want to launch our test campaign, so for example, how we configure data set?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Can you repeat quickly?
How we configure data set?
Okay, data set. You mean to pass multiple set of test data?
Yes.
Okay. Let me show you that as well. It's covered in the training. I mean, the one I shared you.
Nice.
Okay, in SRC test Java, let's just take an example. This. Okay. Okay. No, I think it's not covered in this example. One second, let me check. I need to find out where it is being used. Not here. One second, I'll just quickly give you. I'll find out. Actually, I'm not having my actual laptop. Otherwise, I would have. Yeah, here it is. Okay. SRC test Java. Yeah. So what you can do is you can create a separate class called test data generator. This is the minimum way you can do is you create a data generator. Okay, in which you can create a class a method called get data, which gives you a test data in a two-dimensional format, like key value pair. Not key value pair, but a two-dimensional form. Okay. Now you can use this whole thing in a way that you read the test data from an Excel sheet and pass it. Okay. Here I'm using a simple object, but you can, I mean, here I'm using a simple two-dimensional object. You can also use a list. You can also use a map. So this, when you add a data provider, it behaves in a way that for every, like when you're running a test, it will pass the test data one by one. How will you accept it? Go back to your class in, say, I think it's in here. Yeah. So this is an example. Like here, this is my test case. Okay. You make all your variables as like this, pass like a variable, and then you use data provider called get data and tell where is your data provider. Now when this test will run, it will run how many times? The number of test data you have in your uh, data provider class. So if let's say in your data provider class you have 5 different set of test data, this test will run 5 different times. Okay, this is one of the way. Okay, you can use the data provider, the same data provider we have here, to read from an Excel sheet, to read from a CSV file, to read from a JSON, to read from a, say, XML file, right? All that logic you need to add here. Okay, so all that is covered in the training, but I hope I answer your question.
Yes, and for example, if we have some data, for failed test, how we can manage failed test with the success test, depending on data?
That it will that it will automatically take care. Like if your any test data is failing, our report is smart enough to find out which test is failing for what data. Okay, so let me explain you what I mean to say. If I go to this Eclipse, and I don't know if I have a report, but if I go to Windows, show view console, no, show view and report. Is a gym? Okay, let me run it again. Let me run one test. Say group execution. Right click, run as TestNG test. See here when it is running, let it execute and then I'll show you the response. Okay, so if you go to results, you'll see here you're getting this reports, right? So if your test is running with 4 different set of test data, you will see your test case with your test data. So name of your test case along with the test data. Second along with the test data. Third along with the test data. Like this, you get a report here, and the report which we are using in extend report, that has the capability to automatically take care of your test cases created as a separate test. Okay, what else you can do is, if let's say that does not work or that confuse you, you can do it like this. Say when you're creating a test, you can mention your test data. Say for example, this has string username. Okay, so you can append it here like plus username, or you can mention it here with test data as username. Getting my point?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so these are the ways you can handle. Okay, yeah. Any other questions so far? Okay, I will just also put the link of the course. Any questions with respect to course? Anyone is interested in buying the course?
Yeah, I think so, sure, but I'll take some time to think about it.
No,
because-
no worries,
yeah.
no worries. Anybody else has any interest in buying the course? Please let me know if you want me to answer any questions on that. And as I said, it's very economical. I'm offering it only for this price, only for few more days. Like I just want to build an audience first, and help them as much as I can, so that they becomes my like they further tell other people, okay, this is a course you can buy. That time only I'll increase the price. Otherwise, yeah, and yeah, every weekend I'm going to definitely have the classes. Might be once in a while it happens that I could not make, but usually every week, either on weekends or any day on weekdays, I definitely will conduct the doubt live classes. And also one thing, at the end, if let's say someone is wanted to switch the job as well, then uh, I do take mock interviews. Okay, so those mock interviews will be one to one. You have to pre-book them. 2 or 3 mock interviews you can give with me, where I'll grill you down the way any interviewer will do. Okay, I've been taking interviews from almost 4 or 5 years now. I've taken interviews from a fresher level to a director level in QA. So yes, that experience you can take benefit from. Anybody has any question with respect to course, do let me know. Otherwise, do let me know. If not, thank you everyone for joining. I hope the session was helpful, gave you some insights on how to build frameworks. That was the main motive. And also, I'm conducting another meetup tomorrow that is on Jenkins. So, if anybody who's new to Jenkins and want to learn Jenkins from scratch, tomorrow is the meetup. You can find them on meetup.com. On all the meetup groups, it's already posted. So tomorrow I'm going to cover Jenkins, and that is from a DevOps perspective, not from only from the QA perspective. Okay, keep a track of all the meetup groups. Every week and I do these meetups. Either me or someone from my network is going to present any topic, some topic. Okay, next week's topic. Next week I think there is no meetup. Uh, the following week meetups will be live by Monday end of the day. Any feedback for the day, for the session? I'll stop sharing now. Anything you want me to improve was not good?
Sure, I just took some notes, but I wish to ping you in the LinkedIn or in a different space.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. I